So I'll just introduce Simon. Thanks again, Simon, for agreeing to speak. For everyone on the call, Simon is CEO and founder of a YouTube media agency, S Media, and has kindly agreed just to talk us through YouTube and how advertising works. So Simon, I'll hand it over to yourself.
So yeah, I'm Simon. I've worked on the internet pretty much since it started. Got quite a young, exciting team, and then a couple of dinosaurs working within it, me being one of them. But over that time, I've always been interested in programming, data, PPC, and that sort of led us to the point of trying to become, or hopefully becoming, the go-to YouTube agency in the UK. So why does YouTube, why should you be looking at YouTube at the moment? It is becoming more and more clear in terms of top of the funnel stuff that we're all trying to take a omni-channel approach, but some people are struggling with Facebook particularly, and brands are finding now that they're looking for other avenues. So we do recommend a YouTube first strategy, but within that we obviously operate with other agencies, with internal teams, and use YouTube as one of the sources of traffic and conversion. So we're finding it's an amazing source of traffic, great for conversion, and just helps you with your sort of omni-channel approach to marketing. So within what I'm going to go through today, we'll look at some of the stats, why it works for brands, how to structure your ads and campaigns, some of the hidden benefits that you might not be aware of. I'll show you an example funnel, some of the results that we've achieved for clients, and a little bit about us, and then we'll have a Q&A after. Well, hopefully if I can whiz through the presentation, we can ask some questions. So the stats, obviously it's owned by Google. It is the second largest search engine in the world now. And the difference with YouTube, people actually pay attention. So the point is, when you're watching YouTube, it's what we would call lean in advertising. So if you think of TV's on in the room. YouTube, people are actually paying attention. The only caveat to that would be probably music, where people have got music on with YouTube and they've got it in the background then again, but you wouldn't necessarily place ads into that. The thing with YouTube is it's difficult for it to be full of ads. So there are 300 plus hours of content uploaded every minute to the platform. So whereas Facebook is a sort of a closed community, although enormous, it's running out of space to advertise into. YouTube, because there's so much content being uploaded on a daily basis, there is a massive canvas for all those ads to go into. So why do brands use it? Why does it work so well? You only pay for what's called a true view. So traditionally online you would have CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. With YouTube, the difference is they'll only charge you once your ad has been viewed for 30 seconds. That's not true for every single form of ad that you can put on there, but the best performing ads at the moment tend to be what are called in-stream. And if somebody skips that ad before 30 seconds, you as a brand are not charged. So you've got 29 seconds to educate someone, get them warmed up, tell them about your business and the offer and what problems you solve for them. But if they skip, you don't pay. So you get massive brand awareness on that side. And I've seen campaigns get millions and millions of impressions, but obviously the brand's only getting charged for hundreds of thousands. The other thing that you've got is once somebody does watch past 30 seconds, it only costs you roughly a penny. So if you think of traditional PPC, might be a 50p, a pound, and in some industries, 15, 20 pounds a click. This way, we've had somebody's attention for more than 30 seconds, and there's no limit to how long you can go on then. So I've seen clients have ads that are 10 minutes, 20 minutes long, and because you've interrupted somebody's viewing, you know, you've come in the middle of what they're paying attention to, and they're now paying attention to you. You could go on for as long as you like. There are formulas as to what the best length of ads are, and they tend to be roughly between 2 and 4 minutes at the moment. That's where we see the best retention rates. The other thing is you've got the opportunity to educate people. So you need a good hook. You need the first 15 seconds of that ad to really engage someone and tell them the benefits. Otherwise, they're going to just skip. And I have seen campaigns that people deliberately ask people to skip after 15, 20 seconds to save budget. But the difference is between traditional PPC and YouTube, you've got the opportunity to educate someone. So you've got possibly you there, or you've got a real experience of explaining a product or a benefit, and then you can tell them more about the business, the product, what problems it solves. You can, you're selling there and then, rather than a text-based traditional PPC ad where typically we see people clicking, going back, clicking other ads and clicking 2 or 3 ads and then maybe finding what they're looking for. So great for awareness, and obviously it's got a measurable ROI because you can track everything from end to end. So providing you're using proper UTM tracking, Google Tag Manager, all these sorts of things, you'll be able to establish what is a proper cost of acquisition, be that a sale, a download, a video watch, all this good stuff, or engagement with your other social channels. So structuring your ads, it's relatively easy. The length of the ad, as I say, is 2 to 4 minutes as a rule, but I have got clients that have got some that are 10 minutes, 20 minutes long. We use things called pattern interrupts quite often. So the placement of the ad matters enormously. I don't know if any of you guys watch YouTube a lot, you'll see things like Monday.com and some of the other ones, El Toro, depending obviously what you're viewing. But there's a lot of people on the platform at the moment that are just putting ads in a spray and pray approach. So they'll just put ads absolutely everywhere with a massive budget, and they're relying on the skip for people to disappear and not be charged for. We would much rather take an approach where the ads are fully targeted, the audience is profiled, and we do get the engagement. And I'll come on to this later in the presentation, but it is the engagement that matters massively, right? So the amount of engagement is the signal that we're looking for. We want people to stay as long as possible. We use what we would call a test, learn, reason, and reiterate approach. We have a system that I built, which is called IDAR, which is intelligence-driven ad results. Effectively, I'd love to say it's AI. A lot of people would say it's AI. It's not. It is programmatic with human intelligence overlaid on top of that, mainly my human intelligence. So I built most of those campaigns. I built a lot of that tech. And what it's really doing is testing the placement of an ad, testing the engagement, and whether we're getting conversions or click-throughs, whatever the objective is for the campaign. And then the placements that aren't working are dropped, and then that's automated to bring in new placements and learn and continually develop the audience so that it improves the campaign. Hidden benefits within YouTube. The difference between Facebook, for example, your content's there and it's gone. YouTube, your content is there effectively forever. And because it's linked to Google, Google is giving massive SEO benefit to people that are using YouTube. And you can rank videos at the top of YouTube pretty much straight away. So with traditional SEO, you might wait months or even years, to get to the top of search for a competitive term. But with YouTube, because there's so much real estate available and so many views available, YouTube will allow videos that are coded correctly and have great content to come to the top really quickly. So it is absolutely Google's strategy is to move from text, traditional text-based search, blogging, web pages, through to video and then on to voice. And I do a lot of work with answer engines. So you've got Cortana, Bixby, Google Home, Alexa, all these sorts of things. But at the moment, if you ask Alexa a question, most of the time it will say, I don't know, or here's something I found for you on the web. Now, if we go back 5 years, that didn't exist, and you just have text-based search with a bit of video, and Google sees video as the bridge between text and voice. So the engagement rate is what they're looking to measure. So if I tend to use an example of best barbecue. Now, if I'm looking for a best barbecue, it's going to be a different barbecue to the guy who searched, who's 20 years old and is not got the same income as me, right? So we both searched best barbecue. When you look at a video about barbecues, we would engage at different rates on different content. And that's what Google's using as a signal to tie my demographic data into my engagement to show me the right content. So eventually they'll be able to use the content within video and the questions that live within there to use it with voice search. But, you know, anybody's guess is that could be 5 years, could be 10 years, or it may never happen. It will do at some point, but who knows? So with video, you've got the opportunity to rank videos really quickly. It does boost your Google, your ordinary Google listings massively. If you embed video on the pages using schema, Q&A. So Q&A is massive at the moment. If somebody's asking a question, even my mum, who's 72, she says, YouTube's fantastic. Like I'm always searching on there for how to do this, how to do that. And obviously she's got intent. So if a product comes up with how to do this and it's got a product in it, or it's recommending a product, people are then going on to buy that product based off the recommendation of that video. And Google absolutely wants video to be served to the top of search as quickly as possible. The issue is there's not enough video yet that people are actually strategically placing into search. So there exists a massive opportunity at people now to rank video, rank it quickly, and have their organic listings, i.e. their traditional style SEO, to come to the top as well, and it rewards you like that. Here's an example of a funnel that this would be a basic funnel. So a lot of what we do talks about being ready to run ads, and a lot of brands that we talk to, they're just not ready. So I was talking to an e-commerce brand yesterday. They have traffic between 150 and 200K people to their site every month. They have no remarketing loop. And I explained to them, if you're getting 200,000 people on your site every month and you get 3% conversion, you are wasting 193,000 or 194,000 of those people, because they've been on the site and you could have remarketed to them. And remarketing loops, you know, if any of you are doing them, you'll see if they're done properly, probably 3 or 4 times the ROI off of that loop that you would do from, on this slide, the cold traffic on the left-hand side. So if we look at the bottom left-hand corner of this slide, and you can see that there's multiple traffic sources on here for an omni-channel approach. So Twitter, Instagram, Google Ads, display, Facebook. But at the bottom, we've got YouTube. And the interesting thing that we do with YouTube is you would probably have a broader audience than you might think at the top of the funnel. But people who watch video 1, so those that skip under 29 seconds, we can ignore. Now, if you've got a 4-minute video and we then say people who have watched 3 minutes, i.e. 3/4 of that video, we can show them another ad, a different ad, or a different piece of creative. And where that's great is you can take people on a journey. So you can actually warm them up along a funnel, and there's no stopping that. You can be 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 videos deep into a journey. Not that you probably would. Sort of 4 tends to be the best strategy. So you might show people 4 pieces of content depending on their industry, but at any time they can click through and convert or buy or inquire. But once they've watched 4 videos, we've then been trying to identify the people that watch video 4 and sticking them into a CRM in certain campaigns. And that's when people's sales teams then can call that person and see that they've, you know, we understand that you've been watching, we know you're ready effectively to buy. And it cuts out a lot of the time wasters, the effort. You cut straight to the conversion at that point. So on the back end of this particular funnel, we've got active campaign set up. It sends emails out. It sends emails with videos in. Again, you can see who's watching which videos, how long they're watching them for. That then drives people to what I call a VSL, so a video sales letter, which is effectively somebody lands, they enter their details, I want to see this content, and at that point they get to watch a sales video. You know, it's more information. It's come and buy, sign up, buy up, you know, inquire, whatever that tends to be at that point. The great thing about this visual model is you can actually overlay the data onto it and plug all of the UTM tracking links into the data and visually see people moving along the funnels, but also you can use it as a forecasting tool. So you can put your spend in on the left to your traffic sources, and you can actually visualize the amount of conversions you're going to get based on the percentages you enter into each step throughout the funnel, and see based on your budget how many conversions you're going to get. These are just some examples of a couple of campaigns that we've run recently. Well, at the end of last year, in truth, these ones. This is a fitness and lifestyle coach. She came to us wanting to start a channel. She had under 1,000 subscribers. Her dream was to become famous, effectively. You know, she wanted to run and then start an app and acquire app registration. So we took her up to over 20,000 subscribers pretty quickly. She got 37 million brand impressions. The cost per view on that was under a penny, but the cost per acquisition of a user of the app, it started out at £11. It's driven down now, but this example, as I say, is from September last year. The other one, so that's a sort of B2C example. This is a B2B one. This is for a global, they're a Microsoft distributor, and they were trying to get people to watch a webinar. So they've got a 3-day seminar online. Not the most compelling offer, you know, like, well, not for me anyway. You know, if you're a geek and you're out there and you're in the Microsoft space and you see a webinar about, you know, envisioning workshops and retail transformation, I suppose, you know, you might get excited about that, but, you know, not necessarily one for me. These guys, they did have a big budget. They converted over 8,000 people onto that webinar, but they had 10 million plus views, and cost per view on that was 1.4 pence. Anybody who wants stats after this, I can send you loads of examples of different campaigns in different sectors. Little bit about us. As I say, I've worked on the internet since the start. My business partner, Andy Price, is or has been the creative director for a lot of the big northern agencies. He's worked on a lot of national brand campaigns. I had a big e-commerce business 15, 20 years ago. I sold that 7, 8 years ago when Amazon and eBay really started to wipe me out. I then went and worked agency side and client side. I've worked on a lot of big national brands. Our team, we have a young dynamic team. There's only 12 of us at the moment because we started this business 9 months ago. It was spawned out of, I had a full service agency, and in reality, we were running a lot of ads for Facebook clients in the main. And I wrote one of what I think is one of the better Facebook ads manager courses in the world. The issue we had, that every man and his dog does Facebook, and lots of agencies, there's like lots of one-man bands in bedrooms that do Facebook, etc. Everybody purports to be the best of the best of the best. And the challenge is that Facebook continually bans accounts. You struggle to get creative away. You struggle to get consistent conversions. You're always battling the algorithm. Whereas with Google, once you reach what I would say, I would call it the golden circle, you get to a point where you've got a guaranteed cost per acquisition, you can properly scale. And providing the market is big enough, you can scale infinitely. So I've got clients that I've taken from spending £1,000 a month on YouTube to £50,000. So, and just based on, we know that they get conversions at £3, £4, £10, depending on the industry. and then at that point you can just turn the budget up and turn the taps up on the campaign, and it scales properly. Again, I wouldn't want to work in a silo. We do work actively with people's agencies, alongside them, often as a technical partner. So our strength is building the audiences correctly, the targeting. So one of the targeting things you can do, you can run into placements, audiences, topics, keywords, competitors, apps. So one of the really great tactics is to create an intent-based audience, so people who are in the market for a product, and then overlay that with all of your competitors' URLs. So we know somebody's shopping for XYZ product, we take a list of all the competitors. So if somebody's been on all these websites and they're looking for this, that's where we place the ads, and that works really, really well. But again, you've got to test, learn. It's all about the data within that. So I've waffled on for about 20 minutes. I've put on the screen a list of the questions or some of the topics that we then tend to get asked about. I'll open it up to you guys if you want to ask me anything.
Thanks, Simon. That's a really amazing presentation. Guys, feel free to just talk. If you have, rather than we can use the Q&A, if you've got questions. Anyone want to jump in? I got a question though, Simon. It's interesting. Examples on the B2B side of brands that you think are doing it well at the moment. It's almost virgin territory at the moment. A few of the big guys are in the space, but we don't talk about being an agency. We talk about we are a media buying and planning partner. So we would like to be treated as a MediaCom. So we typically save people at least 20% of their budget when they're on their traditional PPC and on their YouTube ads. So there is massive opportunity to waste budget, as with all of these type of things. But we ran a campaign for, one of the challenges I get asked all the time is, well, people who sort of over 40, they don't watch YouTube, do they? Well, we ran a campaign for a German screwdriver manufacturer before Christmas, and it was only for December, and he had a budget of £8,000, and the ROI in that campaign, he sold one order of £900,000, so that was a B2B sale, and had a further 123 inquiries, brochure downloads, phone calls, that sort of stuff. But when I look around, and I did do some research into the top 150 Facebook advertisers, I couldn't really find any of those doing it properly on YouTube. So, you will see a lot of the SaaS products. They're at it. A lot of coaches do it. So there's a lot of people in that space getting mixed up with. So I've just signed a global brand who are going to run an influencer campaign plus ads. And typically, when people come to us, they're not really running YouTube, because the misconception is that you need a YouTube channel. So that, like, I was speaking to one of the people at M&S Energy. I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but she said to me, well, we haven't got we don't have an active YouTube channel. I said, you don't need an active YouTube channel. They thought that they needed to have content going out all the time on YouTube to even run ads. Well, all you need is a Google Ads account, and yes, you need a YouTube channel, but it doesn't need to have anything on it other than an ad. So you just upload your video as your ad, and away you go. You can promote it from day one. So you don't actually need a YouTube channel, and it's nice to have. A lot of people have. I have an opinion that YouTube will move to a lot of a collaborative space. So I think, if you wanted to look at my YouTube channel, for example, you'll not
nobody wants to watch me all day long, or my staff, or us talking about YouTube all the time. You'd probably much rather watch a channel about marketing. You know, if all of us on this group had a channel and we all contributed to it, one of the benefits would be, well, we probably, with 100 odd members in a group, you'd probably say to each person, well, we need one piece of content off of each of you every other month. And it, you know, then it's no real challenge. Whereas if you're running the channel independently, you've got to be, you run out of ideas. You know, you want the content to be really good and engaging, but you also want variety, because nobody wants to watch me all the time, or even a particular influencer. So I think YouTube will move away from, you know, from individual influencers to an extent, and try and become, you know, like say we run a YouTube channel all together, we could be the Netflix of marketing effectively if you had enough people in the group.
It's a good challenge. Yes, Matt.
Simon, this is really great, thank you. And hopefully, could you share the slides as opposed to the video as well, perhaps with the group? This is really helpful. I've got a couple of questions, really. I'm a complete novice in this space because my background is FS and B2B mostly. My question one is, I'll give you both, by the way, so I can shut up and let you do the valuable stuff. If you're starting from scratch, how do you strike the balance between tagging in on somebody else's content to then, if you like, creating your own? And secondly, in terms of sort of looking at strategy around this, I know definitely the test element is totally sensible, but sort of what sort of time horizons would you be looking for to look at how you expand timelines, content, volume of content? I'll be interested in both, if that's all right.
Yeah, so in terms of time scale, we normally say to people, you've got 3 months to get to that golden circle I was talking about, in terms of we will know where your cost of acquisition sits. It's not that you won't get conversions in the first month, but the bidding strategies on YouTube, we would like to get to target cost of acquisition. So Google will serve your campaigns based on a target cost of acquisition, but it has to learn what it can get you a conversion for. And to start that process off, you have to use a strategy called maximize conversions. And that's sort of, I don't want to say open your wallet and play the game, but they want to know that you are serious. So like Facebook took the strategy of just letting anybody hit this boost button and they'll take anybody and everybody, whereas YouTube want to keep the quality level up, a bit like LinkedIn does. Keep the quality level up, keep out all the dross, because otherwise we're all going to start seeing all sorts of ads for anything, right? And it's just going to turn people off the channel or move people. You know, they don't. The biggest thing Google's worried about is losing people or losing people's interest. So they don't want content going everywhere. So the process tends to be, if somebody started with us, month one, we would take you through a readiness for ads audit to make sure, I'm not going to run ads before I know they'll work. And that includes having the remarketing, the omni-channel approach, everything in place before you press go. And there's a lot of people still just turning ads on, sending the traffic. Yes, you get a level of conversion, but it'll never work as well as it should do. Month two, we would probably be in the point of where you're running ads, you're learning, the campaigns are learning, we're learning which audiences are working, which placements are working, but it's then about the quality of the conversion. So it's not just about, yeah, I've got conversions coming left, right, and center, which channels and which ads and which creative and which emotional hooks are actually driving the quality conversion, as opposed to a phone call that is a waste of time, right? And then in month two of running ads, which is month three of a campaign, you're then at the point where we're starting to refine that. Month three, we've got it running, and we can then scale it. So that's probably your timeline. In terms of getting content out there, if you had a brand new channel today, you launched a YouTube channel today, and we had a video ready to go that was, let's say it's questions and answers, right? So one I did yesterday for a client, 10 questions. We built a video with 10 questions in it, all on a topic. The video's 10 minutes long. So it's like question. So if you go onto Google and ask questions, you'll see people also asked, and you can pull all the questions out of there that people are asking. Those are the questions they want answering. So there you go. There's your content. We made a video, 10 minutes long, brand new channel, put the video up. That video within 24 hours was #1 in YouTube because it was ranked. So this is the SEO power of YouTube. Google will serve that video straight away because it wants to see how good it is. It's not going to let it languish in the depths, because if you do a search on YouTube, you'll sort of see videos listed that are 3 years old, 1 year old. You might see 1, 2 weeks old, but there's so little fresh content that's coming on topics. Even though there's so much getting uploaded, the majority of what's getting uploaded is stuff that people are trying to monetize, obviously, you know, because the opportunity is enormous. For if you get millions of views, you get paid thousands of pounds, right? That's the game at the moment. Tons of people doing that. But in the business space where we operate and trying to actually get either B2C or B2B conversions, there's very little content still being produced that is designed to go and rank. So if, like, I'll take the envisioning workshop example. That video, the client, if you search envisaging workshop, you'll find that client. They're called Quantic, and they're a Microsoft distributor. But that video ranked within 24 hours at the top of YouTube, and it goes there, and YouTube will send views to it because it wants to understand people's behavior. Now, if the video's no good, as in it's not engaging, it's just slides, and that's one of the golden rules. Don't use, really animation and slides or stock footage within it, because it turns people off. People want real, they want a bit of engagement and they want it to feel real. But that video goes at the top. If people engage with it, the signal goes to YouTube. We'll keep this here because people like it. And if it answers a question for somebody or multiple questions, so one of the tactics you can do is time code within the video the different sections of the video based on the questions that people are answering. And then people can click, and Google will rank you for the question. And that puts your content straight to the top of YouTube and straight to the top of Google search. So it outdoes any SEO technique that anyone can ever recommend. I didn't mention the fact that I would like to say that I am one of the world's best people at SEO still, and I've done SEO for over 20 years. But applying traditional SEO techniques to video, the opportunity now is over the next 2 or 3 years, creating content that ranks within a day. And I've ranked videos within 20 minutes at the top of YouTube. It's getting it to stick is the game. So how you do that is you make good content that people want to watch and engage. So your view through percentage is really important. And then it will rank and it will stick until somebody else makes a piece of content similar that's better. So the game is, we've just, like, to answer the question, you could have a channel that you launch today, have a video up tomorrow, ranking at the top of YouTube, and you can have traffic on it within 24 hours.
Thanks.
Thanks, Simon. Any other questions from anyone?
Good question for me, if I can just jump in.
Go.
Simon, previous role, we had a lot of issues with brand safety related issues, not with YouTube, but with other video channels. We ended up, it's a kids related brand, but we ended up with advertising next to an ISIS recruiting video was one particular example. But I know that there were issues and concerns in particular on YouTube as well at the time around, fake videos, so targeting kids with kids content that then cut to inappropriate material. How much is that still seen as an issue, I guess, from an advertiser's perspective, and how much focus is it from YouTube to keep on top of that?
Yeah, I think, well, there are settings that you can exclude that now. on the sensitive content, you can exclude it. You can exclude. So where a lot of budget gets wasted by people is they'll run stuff into the display network or the App Store, and that's your biggest risk. So that's where you see a lot of content that there's no control over, and Google hasn't got its I don't think it has control of the App Store or this display network as it would like to yet, because there's a lot of content there that, well, there's that much content that they just can't keep all over it. They are doing really well on banned words and particular content now because of COVID. So we've seen over the last 3 or 4 months a big tightening up on when you launch an ad, there's a lot more scrutiny, and I do feel there's more scrutiny on the content that is going out there. I've run into that issue with some clients. It's easy to exclude placements. So what we tend to do is we would run campaigns where we are automating the conversion and the placement. So when you do that, obviously that type of content wouldn't convert, wouldn't drive any ROI, and would end up being excluded even if you got, 1 or 2 brand impressions in that channel. Because when you launch a campaign, if you choose, for example, keywords and overlay that with a custom intent audience, where those 2 things intersect is where your ads will appear. Now, as soon as you launch that campaign, Google is going to choose 5,000 to 8,000, depending on your budget, it's probably going to choose 5,000 to 8,000 random placements to begin with. That can obviously be anywhere. But working on an example where I was speaking to, I'm not allowed to say because it's under NDA, a national brand that has a challenge with food, so they're not allowed to show sugary snacks to people under 18 or 16. I don't know what the exact rule is, can't remember, but the law says you can't show fattening foods to certain groups. Now, the only way we could get around that was to choose a demographic over 18, but to make sure we used phrases that only, in theory, adults would type in. And then, so the law says, actually, as long as you can evidence best practice to avoid coming into a placement where you shouldn't be, then, obviously you're not liable if you've used all the best practice and you can show that. Hopefully that sort of answered the question. I don't feel like I necessarily did.
No, but really useful to hear. I appreciate that. Thank you, Simon.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question about budget again? You brought up an example of the lady with her fitness training app. What's the minimum budget that you can kind of go with? I'm sorry for a cheap question, but I've got a client that wants to do something. So
if they were going to work with us, we typically work at 5K plus a month, right? If you want to start running your own YouTube ads, you can start at £1 a day. You can crack on, and it's the same as traditional PPC. Just put a budget in and away you go. In terms of testing, I would say personally you need probably 50 quid a day on a campaign. So when I say that somebody comes to us and we start at, say, 5K, they would probably be running 4 campaigns, 50 quid a day each. Google won't spend all of that to begin with, but that's sort of the level at where you get enough data to learn that you're getting enough placements, enough exposure. Again, it depends on how niche your product is. So, if it's, and what the audience is and how broad you want to be. If you've got a really, really tight idea of the demographic and some really specific keywords and topics, you could start with 15, 20 quid a day on a campaign and let it learn. It'll just take longer for you to get enough conversion. So when we talk about target cost per acquisition, Google really won't let you switch across to that until it's had 100 conversions or thereabouts on a campaign. So if, for example, a cost of acquisition is 10 quid, you need to spend £1,000 to get that, but you're not going to get that. You know, you won't turn the campaign on day one and get £10, £10, £10 to start with. You'll probably spend £50, £100 before you get a conversion, and then it's learned a little bit. Then you'll get the next lot of conversions at 30 quid, and it will slowly come down. And once it's at 100, you can then turn it on to target cost per acquisition, and it won't serve it to people unless it feels like it can actually achieve that for you.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Simon, I had a question just on terminology. Can you just explain what the difference is between a conversion and an acquisition?
Well, yeah, so conversion would be, from any action really could be a conversion. So this is where it could get really complicated, but a typical conversion would be, I've got a new customer, I've got a sale, right? So the end of the funnel would be the true conversion. But if we turn a campaign on day one, we might start off with a conversion of somebody makes a phone call or fills in a form. So you can call that a conversion. It's not a sale, but you're more likely to call the end result an actual acquisition, target cost of acquisition, all of the things that go in between. So you could even have a page view as a conversion. So you might teach a campaign that we want people to come on and we want them to spend a minute or more on a page as a conversion. So you could have hundreds of different types of conversions. What you're trying to do is, I won't say trick, right, but you're trying to educate Google into, this is what we want people to do, and this is what we know results in the actual acquisition. So it might be we need 5 form fills to get a customer, right? So 5 conversions at, let's say, a form fill 15 quid, right? If we get 1 customer out of that, that's £75 per conversion or actual acquisition. But the conversions you've set as a different action. So eventually you want to move everything to target cost of acquisition, but you'll have lots of conversions in the meantime of different actions that people are taking on your site.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Simon, I just had a quick question. Obviously, just following on from the point you just made, in terms of call to actions, obviously it varies by brand or service that's being offered, but do you have sort of some views about what effective ones?
Well, we do, when we're running ads, you've got, the structure is the first 6 seconds and normally the first 3 seconds really to grab somebody's attention. You've then got about 15 seconds to explain the proposition or the problem or the solution that how you help someone, or the value proposition within the product. You're then at about 21, 22 seconds into that ad, and we would probably in the main say click through to find out more, come onto our site to download, or register here for the webinar, or come on and view our video, all that. You would actually just physically ask at that point, depending on the audience. But the call to action buttons on the ads pop up in the bottom left hand corner as you're looking at the screen. So some people have arrows that point down at them. One of the ones I like is someone will say, look, click here to come through and learn more about the product. Or it can be a lot more subtle than that. Just go back into an education phase. The structure tends to be, if you're writing a 4-minute ad, and I know that can sound quite daunting, you're probably actually repeating yourself 2 or 3 times within that, and having multiple calls to action throughout it.
Thank you very thanks for that, Simon. Interesting. And then just a final question. Sorry, I may have missed this at the beginning, so apologies if I turned up a bit late. But obviously in classic advertising, you're looking at a ratio of cost of content versus actually the media side of it. But I presume there's a lot of ways you can actually produce some very effective but probably low cost content.
Well, yeah, if you look at some of the L'Oreal ads that went out, you know, with the celebrities that were just holding their phone, you know, and okay, they've got some nice lighting and there's bound to be a director there and all of that sort of thing. But in the main, we go from, there's a lot of people just use their phones because like the latest iPhones and Android devices do some amazing photography. Lighting wise, easy setup. The main thing tends to be the sound, but production quality can be really high from a low budget, or conversely, we've got clients that we would hire out studios, use actors, you know, obviously with it all scripted and like a proper TV ad. I've used TV ads on YouTube. They don't tend to be as effective because they're not structured for YouTube and they don't feel as real. But you can go from anything from a production budget of a couple of £100 through to as much as you like, I suppose.
No, thank you for that.
Hi, yeah, Simon, just a quick question on the kind of global demographics. Is YouTube commonly watched throughout Asia, for example, and North America as much as it is in the UK?
Yeah, obviously North America, all over the world, pretty much. You know, we run campaigns globally for clients. We tend to set individual ads accounts up per territory or country. The cost varies quite substantially between different territories. So you'll see the US and the UK at roughly a penny, 2 pennies a view, or 2 cents a view, depending on where your content, where you want to place it. So you can choose specific channels. So for example, if I wanted the ads to appear in Sky News, Fox, and some of the big influencer channels, you might have to pay 8, 10, 12 pence a view, depending on the placement. But you don't tend to work like that. What you're more working on what somebody's researching. So if somebody during the day has searched a particular keyword, or within the last 7 days, let's say, and they've also been on certain websites, and they are also in a certain age bracket, and they're also a homeowner, and they're in Dallas, right? You can show the content in anything they're watching. So that would be a broad placement campaign, whereas you could choose specific placements or specific topics. But to answer the actual question, you can show in countries all over the world parts of a penny, per view. But you can choose down to, you can do specific postcodes or radiuses around cities. It gets really interesting actually on the, where you can see the different conversions from different countries.
Yeah, great. Okay, no, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Simon, I'd be interested, just lastly, setting up a business in the last 9 months must have been quite challenging. What's it like speaking to marketing? How CMOs and marketing budgets and investment, and what's the feedback from that side of it?
My previous business, or a business that's still running, is called Institution Marketing and Advertising, and that's a full service agency. And we moved to niche into YouTube purely because we were getting such great results from it. So I wrote the IDAR system a couple of years ago for the display network in traditional PPC. I was getting results that were unheard of on IDAR. And that is a display network system, and it's something that normal PPC agencies steer away from. They keep that at arm's length because it's very easy to waste as much budget as you ever want to waste in the display network. I was lucky enough that I had some big clients that allowed me to do the testing to refine the system, and I took that system over into YouTube, and the results replicated. And because it gives so much better return on investment for advertisers. It just exploded. So we just went YouTube. But to answer the question in terms of speaking to businesses, we went out with a campaign September, October last year, and my outreach on LinkedIn was to C-suite in the main, with businesses that were you know, big brands, global and national brands. And the outreach message went something along the lines of, we've been speaking to brands where most of them are admitting that they are neglecting YouTube as an opportunity. You know, would you be interested in seeing a deck? And I started getting loads of people coming on to me, like global CEOs, you know, people like BT, Unilever, people like that. Like, I was like creating conversations with unbelievable size brands, but as you know, those type of deals take months and months to even get close to fruition, and we are still talking to quite a lot of those. But the overwhelming message was not on this year's radar. We've got plans for YouTube. And then people started using the phrase YouTube first. We have got it on our radar, and we will be using a YouTube first strategy next year. And it was, we targeted the brands that were coming off Facebook. So sort of last year, there was a big backlash with loads of brands coming off. And then they were all looking for alternative traffic sources. And the one that most brands then saw as the opportunity was YouTube, because it is so underutilized, and the barrier to entry being video. And if there's anything that everyone could, you know, really get out of this call, is the opportunity is there with video, the massive opportunity to, you know, there's a lot of I want to say, you know, there can be a lot of challenge around what video to make, and that's what we do help people with, scripting and how to structure it, and the strategy, how to grow your channel, how to rank your videos. But the challenge then is to, who do we put in front of the camera? What do we create? And that is what stops like 99% of these businesses. That's when the conversation will stop. Like, well, we don't know what to make, or we haven't got the assets. So I can see the world changing massively already. I'm getting absolutely overrun with inquiries, although I'm not seeing that an awful lot of that turn into business at the moment yet. But I can feel confidence coming back, yeah, for sure.
Thank you. That's great. Guys, just before we wrap up, any final questions from anyone? Otherwise, Simon, massive thank you. It was really, really insightful, and I think you might see a few more YouTube channels spring up. Hopefully we'll tag you in a post and thank you. And obviously anything we can do as a group to promote your business, and, you know, absolutely we will do. I'm sure you'll get some good leads, hopefully, from people. Yeah.
And if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so. And if anybody wants to email me, it's just simon@s.media, and then we'll, you know, I'll gladly send you decks or case studies. Any advice anybody wants, yeah, just send me a message.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll post your website again in the group chat, in the LinkedIn, so everyone's got it.
Great.
Awesome.
Nice
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Simon, again, thanks for your time.